Hello and welcome back to Soul Blazer. This is BioEnchanted, and today we're going to be finishing off this area. One last little look around. There's actually something around this area, but I kind of temporarily forgot where it was. I'll pick that up later. For now, let's just focus on moving on, shall we? So let's finally go into this painting. And we'll see what that angel statue we spoke to meant when he mentioned enemies that can't be killed by our current sword. However, it's not as obnoxious as you think it's going to be. These guys, a lot of the enemies in here can in fact be killed as normal, as you can see. They're about the same kind of toughness as everything else. You just kind of have to stand in the right position. And one thing I quite like here is it's a painted world, and with that, the birds and all the other enemies around this area are very kind of unusual and colourful, and just generally pretty. Like, at least these birds, anyway, they do a really good job with the whole aesthetic of the whole painted world. You can feel like someone actually deliberately chose these colours for these birds because they thought they'd look pretty. And of course, here we have a bunch of torches to kill, but these ones are actual enemies, so these ones will stay dead. I quite like that as well, that there's a bit of a difference there as well in the visuals. Like, not just torches, they're like little torch creatures. And that's a very cute idea. This is a much more straightforward level than the other levels of this, of the other areas of this level, rather. Here is where things get really annoying. These bloody guys, they throw spears at you, and I can't quite get a good position. And it's just because of the way they kind of move, I managed to get this position pretty well, but sometimes these guys can be a real pain to try and work out just where to stand. And if one of them decides to actually move, you can really throw the entire thing off that you're trying to go for. I quite like Leo's paintings though, the World of Darkness as he calls them. It's an interesting visual area, and I quite like the music here as well. Why Dr. Leo would want to paint something called the World of Darkness, I don't quite know. I guess we might find out later. But it seems like a weird thing to obsess over. I wonder if he even intended for it to be a magical painting as well, or is that just the evil, whatever's causing all this, going a bit weird? Luckily, he comes back on screen again. That's nice of him, because I moved in a stupid position there. I like the little clouds running in the background as well. That's a pretty cool visual. It does the whole kind of flying fortress thing. That's one thing I like with this game, is that the areas you go to don't just have, in this case, the underground castle, and that's it for the dungeon, because that would be quite dull. What they do instead, they have most of it being that kind of thing, but they also vary it up quite a lot with different areas of each dungeon to go to, and sometimes they have multiple different dungeons to play with as well, which is quite a nice thing. Yeah, these spikes are a real arse. I kind of got stuck in that trap because I'm an idiot. There we go, that's a new enemy type. Those weird, eyeball blocks. We'll have to look out for those. And here is the first one of those enemies that were mentioned. The ones that can't be killed by our sword. Of course, we mean that little spinny thing. The enemies in that description tend to be more traps than enemies. And so it's a bit more kind of, but yeah, as you can see, this area is a real pain in the ass for this idiot on his spears and everything. It's just I didn't really know what to even do with this idiot. I just kind of had to deal with him best I could. There we go. I found a good place to stand now, though, as we were running out of health. This is me playing like an idiot, but those little spinning guys, those are the enemies we can't kill because they're made of metal. As you can see, there's a monster there. So we'll have to come back for them, but at the moment, metal enemies are immune to our sword. So all we need to do is avoid them. That's one thing I like with the unkillable enemies in this game. They don't just hang around, they're on a particular track for the most part. And so, if you're careful, you can avoid them quite handily. There's a very, very, very small variation on that. But for the most part, they tend to move in predictable patterns and not actually directly attack you and will just bump into you. And that's one thing I quite like with this part of the game, is that it introduces these enemies, but in a way that they're still kind of harmless as long as you're good at moving. And these guys though, when they do that, that can be a nightmare. If you don't expect them to go in the direction you're about to go in, they can sneak up on you quite quickly, especially when you focus on other enemies that have more dangerous patterns. You can easily get distracted and then get clipped in the back by one of these traps. Now you have to be very careful in this area because with all the conveyor belts and everything like that, they really mess you up. Especially with these bloody things moving on the outskirts as well. Of course, I'm going to get clipped in the back a couple of times, like here, because there's just kind of hard to tell where they're going to go in some directions. Like if you don't have memorized entirely where they're going to go, it can be kind of awkward. But I do like the way the traps are introduced and the way they're kind of used, especially throughout the rest of the game until you get the right weapon for them. Because it makes an interesting, it makes the positioning a lot more important. Because the positioning was always kind of key in this game. And then here it just kind of brings it into sharp focus by making you really watch where you're standing. Because if you don't watch where you're standing, not only are the enemies going to clip you, but these things will as well. And yeah, another one of these bloody conveyor belts with these idiots, and it's just... But I think I found a good place here. Almost. There we are. And there's our final teleporter for this city as well. Let's take care of these guys. This is kind of a dumb formation, really. It's just kind of take the damage. This is just ha-ha, eat damage. But it's done now, so that's nice. Now this is actually the final section of this area's dungeons. This is the very last set of them. After this particular fight, we'll be at the boss. And so we need a lot of preparation. Grass Valley, that was its name. So yeah, this is the final portion of Grass Valley. So after this preparation and boss fight, we'll be bidding this whole place adieu. But of course, before the boss fight, let's quickly do our prep, shall we? Because we are in a very bad position, we only have half a health bar. And I have things to say about the bosses in this game that I'll go into after it'll be over, because it will be over very quickly. There's something I quite like with this game is that your enemies die quickly, but so do you. That remains true throughout the entire game, pretty much, with only a few exceptions. Which means basically you have to work out how to kill stuff quickly. And here we will have a bit of a, once we've done our gathering of things, the remaining things to do in the city that we can do right now. After we've taken our little tour from the goat. We will also... we will demonstrate exactly what I mean by the enemies dying really quickly. I lost my train of thought for a second there. So let's get this goat back in his pen. Like that, this is the house people constructed for the goats. That's just a cute way of describing it. Yeah, we wasted that medical herb, but that's the main problem with this game, is you only carry one of each thing. And so if you end up picking something up as a reward, it doesn't tell you what it's going to be, and it doesn't let you just go, nah, I'll pick that up later. You just have to take it and waste it. This tulip is actually giving us very useful information. Something we won't be using in this run because I'm emulating the game, but it's going to be a useful thing when we get it done. So let's just investigate this kid. This house is very Final Fantasy 1 because of the whole, like, the ceiling vanishing when you go inside it. That's what it brings to mind for me. But under the sleeping tulip, there is a pass. And let's also see what he's dreaming about, this guy, shall we? Because this guy, I don't believe we've actually seen his dream yet. We've only seen one so far. Not just people can dream. A lot of things can. Here again is more confirmation that we need a special sword to take out the metal. We already know that from the goddess at the end of the first dungeon. But at the moment she's just here to get us out of the dream, really. So let's equip our pass and see what that kid's guarding. After going the wrong direction like an idiot. Yeah, the town's looking quite nice now that it's pretty much completed. I quite like the way the town's laid out, and the fact that each character has a unique looking house. It's a very kind of dark cloud kind of thing that I really like, because I always like when characters have unique residences for themselves. And this is the prize for the pass, the strange bottle. If we equip the strange bottle, then when we die, the effect that happens when you die doesn't actually fully happen. I'll explain that in a few minutes, because of the way that this first boss works, I'm gonna die against him. And then load state, because I do not want to deal with what the game does to you when you die, because it's a hassle. But we'll discuss that when we get there in a few seconds. So let's use our warp to get back to the boss. That's enjoying our Toccata in D. Or Toccata in Wannabe, I guess it could be. So let's get the quick save state here, because again, I don't want to deal with the death in this game because it's a bit annoying, but this is the crab walk. As you can see, along with it just touching an enemy's hitbox, we'll die. But here we go, yeah, we screwed up, we died. The problem that is, as you see there, if we die we lose all of our gems, and therefore all of our magic, and we have to grind more up. I don't want to deal with that. So let's just not die, shall we? This is why the medical herb's important, because if we do this right, we'll have exactly enough health, including the med herb, to kill the boss. Just crab walk, just keep pushing your sword into his hitbox over and over and over again, and he'll die. If you accidentally get behind him, or to the side of him by the conveyor belt pushing you up there, you will end up him turning to metal, and you can't hurt that. His name is the Metal Mantis. The bosses in this game can be a little annoying if you don't work out the trick, which basically means how to crab walk them. It's really just a matter of trading blows, pretty much. I mean, there's really not much else we could have done there when it came to, like, strategy or skill, because his fireballs come too frequently, and it would have been a massive hassle to go up and down the conveyor belts trying to dodge them, but he's done very little damage to him over time. It would have taken forever. So generally, the trick to this game is kill things quickly, but they'll kill you quickly too. But now we've killed Metal Mantis, we have restored the mayor. So let's speak to him, shall we? Or chief, I guess. Also, the man in this hut did mention that he had lost his wife. But then as he had lost his wife, a goat appeared in the garden. That goat's his wife. A little bittersweet, but that's what this game excels at, is that kind of sad humor. But now we have a mysterious brown stone from the chief of this town. mentioning of Death Toll is actually a mistranslation, or at least a translation based on the fact that Nintendo at the time were trying to keep religion down, from what I heard about it anyway, like mentions of religion low. But let's move on to the next area, shall we? Basically, the true name of Death Toll, as this game calls it, is what it's called in all the other games in this trilogy, Dark Gaia. They just renamed it Death Toll to get the whole pagan god thing out of the situation. But here we are, the next area, which is Greenwood, I believe, something like that. This is a nice area. So see you next time, as we begin to restore it by crossing this bridge and seeing what the dungeon has to offer. Taking the scenery, and goodbye.